Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Greater Manchester Stories. This episode's amazing guest is a friend of mine called Rob Kellner. He's a little bit different to many people living in Greater Manchester. He's not only an American, he's a Texan. I don't know where he parks his horse or what he does with his Stetson, but here he is now. So welcome, Rob, to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Nick, and thank you for not picking out any stereotypes that you can throw in my face or anything. I really appreciate that. So glad to be with y'all today.
When I started this podcast, Greater Manchester Stories, I wanted to get you on because you're American, you're an immigrant, you've made Greater Manchester your home. Why have you made Greater Manchester your home?
It's a bit of a convoluted story, but I'll condense it. I've been in the UK for a long time. I came in August of 2006. Was actually living in Belfast in Northern Ireland, and um, at the time I was very happy there. And but the what happened was is I couldn't get a work visa to stay at that time, so I ended up coming over to England and moved to outside of Reading. And at that time it was fine, but it just didn't feel right. I didn't find it particularly welcoming, particularly warm. I mean, I made friends and all, but it just didn't feel like home to me. And I came to Manchester sometime after that. Um, and I mean, literally, when I got off the train and started walking through the city, it was just totally different vibe. I liked the energy. I liked the little bit of the history. I remember getting on the tram the first time, and these two old ladies were sitting in front of me. I don't know how they just started chatting with me and laughing and carrying on, and we're like, "Oh, where are you from?" and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, this is the place for me, and I've been here for the last 11 years ever since.
Right, so you've made Greater Manchester your home now for 11 years. What what are the best things about Greater Manchester or Manchester, and is there any negatives to living in Greater Manchester?
Uh, there's plenty of positives. Otherwise, I wouldn't stay. Like I started to say at the beginning, the energy, it's friendly, uh, but it's also authentic. It feels authentic in the sense that you've got rough types, you've got all kinds of different types, and it's just a very authentic mix. It feels like you're living in England, and I didn't always feel that way. It doesn't feel like, when I go to London, which I love, and I go there quite often, it feels like an international city. It could be anywhere. I hear lots of different languages, and which is fine, but this feels like I'm living in England, and it's big enough where you feel like there's plenty to do, but not so big that you feel overwhelmed by it all. And so that's what walking the streets. I live in the city center, and I find that you can get from one side of the city to the other in 40 minutes. And so that's part of it. That suits me very well. And it's a good walking city. I don't have a British driver's license, so I walk and take the tram and train and bus and stuff like that. It's very easy to do. And I've made friends here, and it's just been a place that it felt it's it, it's sort of close to Texas in this certain sense that you have friendly people, and it's just, like I say, it has a very good energy to it.
Is there any negatives of Greater Manchester that you've seen and went, oh, I'm not too keen on that little bit?
Well, like any city, you're going to have the positives and the minuses. And what I've noticed is this ever since kind of COVID situation, and when I've had family members come and visit me, they've said the same thing. So those that came at the beginning were shocked in the best sort of way. They said, "Rob, now we understand why you like it so much, and it's clean, and it feels safe, and that kind of thing." Now, since then I've had family members come and visit, and it's got a different. They're like, "Oh, Rob, I don't remember all of these beggars and homeless and this and people just it's not, you don't feel as secure, you don't feel as safe as I did, say, 10 years ago.
Right. Let me ask you something slightly different. Have you got any little stories about the differences between here and Texas, such as I thought something meant something, but it turns out that means something else over here? Have you ever got yourself into a little pickle because you misunderstood because words are slightly different across the Atlantic?
Well, that I mean that is true. There's definitely a culture shock, definitely a culture shock to it, and I've learned the hard way, and people will be mercilessly making fun of me because I don't that I don't know some of the slang, and Manchester is very unique and all of that. But I'll say that I've been pretty much welcomed, and they make fun of the Americans and how we don't have a certain sense of humor, and there'll be a bit of coming at me and stuff like that. But you know what, I can take it, and I can dish it out. So it's fine. I think that's how you know that you've been accepted by the English, is when they make fun of you and laugh, and then you can laugh back, and I'm one of y'all now. I know I might sound like it, but I've been accepted. So yeah, it feels like home.
And that's what men do. Men take the mickey out of each other because it's a way of bonding. And sometimes from the outside, or sometimes for women, they look at it and they think it's nasty and bullying. It's not. It's a way men bond with each other. It's taking the mickey out of each other.
Yeah, and that's true. And I have been not attacked. Like I I can tell the difference between somebody who's coming at me in a fun sort of way, and that kind of stuff, and saying mean things to me and all that, versus somebody who's coming at me in a not so nice way. And that's very rare when that's happened. But you know the difference, and I can look out. Believe me, I can look after myself just fine. This can be a tough city, and you have to have little tough hide to get it, because that's just the way it is. But it builds you a protection and an inner strength. And so I've witnessed things in the city that are not nice, and if I see somebody being abused in a way or certain, I'll look after them, because I would want somebody to do the same for me. And growing up in a small town, you look after each other, and that's part of the thing. Even though this is a big city, it feels very much like a small town sometimes, in the best sort of way. And so that's one of the things I really appreciate about it.
If you had to pick one difference between living in Manchester and living in Texas, what would that one thing be? What's the biggest difference?
Oh gosh, beside the accents, everything, and I hope y'all won't be mad at me. Well, the thing now, I miss my family, of course, but the food, I have to say that the food here is fine, and it's not like I'm starving to death or anything. But if I had to choose between the two, the Texas barbecue and the Mexican food and stuff like that, it runs rings around this place. But there are some things here that I really, I really enjoy the pub culture, which is funny because I've been told that I spend, for someone who doesn't drink, I spend more times in pubs than anybody they've ever met before. And when my regular pubs, I'm the Diet Coke king. So I don't even have to give an order anymore. But because of that, because my friends hang out in pubs and we talk and carry on and all of that kind of stuff. That's probably one of the things I love the most about British culture, is that, and you don't see that in the States so much. It just doesn't exist, and that's one of the best things about living here.
My final question is Greater Manchester going to be your home forever?
Well, I don't know the future. I don't think anybody knows the future. I'm happy here, but I never say never, and I can see myself staying here forever. I can see myself going back. I just don't know at this point. I'm happy to carry on. I'm happy what I'm doing. I'm happy with my life and the friends that I've made and the things that I'm building in this city. I believe in this city and I want it to be the best city it can be. And I'm sure gonna do my part the way I see it to keep that legacy going for sure.
Fantastic. And everything you said then is everything I'm saying. I want this city to be better. That's why I'm standing for mayor. And unless people stand up and do something about it, nothing will ever change. So that's the message out of this podcast: is everybody can do something. You might only be able to do a small amount, but that adds up. If a couple of million people do a small amount, it still adds up to a big change.
Oh, it's 100%. And by not speaking up, if you see something that's not right or that's not true, and you keeping your mouth shut because it's easier, then that's how things don't end up being the best they can be, is because we let things change for the worst. If you see something that's not right, we all have to say something. And I know it's not easy, and I know sometimes it's actually very scary because you can get criticized for it. But those the people that know me know that's just not my way. I don't keep my mouth shut, and for better or worse. And I'm always going to stand up for you, for my friends, for the city, the best way I know how.
Exactly. And I wrote a book on this called Lessons in Courage. We all need to be a little bit more courageous and try to avoid being cowardly. That's what we need to do. Rob, thank you very much for your time. I'm going to try to get you back on another time because you've got a really good story around free speech, but we'll save that for another day. Thank you for being a guest today.
No, Nick, listen, like always, thanks for having me on, and let's keep on making Manchester the best it can be. Absolutely.
Thank you. See you soon.
All right.
Bye
Thanks.
bye.
Bye.